What?
I'm at 105 Pleasant Street in Concord.
They're on.
We're on.
Yeah,
We have
doing,
commentary. Well, I am Gary.
You are Gary.
Phew, that's good. Yeah, because I get the tag, so it proves.
I'm Josh, right?
You'd think you are.
I think therefore I am.
Norm's commenting on this off camera just to mess with us. So we're gonna have to write a letter to somebody
Yes.
that probably wouldn't care.
Yes.
Oh, our guest tonight, Josh.
Guest tonight?
Guest. We have Josh. We have a guest
One
tonight.
of my favorite guests.
He is.
One of my favorite guests.
He's okay. He's all right. He's
somewhat
not horrible.
family too. I like that.
He's what?
Yeah. Family.
Yeah.
Family?
Yeah.
Like maybe Adam's family.
Yeah.
John
too.
Burt, the honorable representative from Goffstown.
Yes,
That's
I'm
the
here.
wrong hand. You're supposed to have your hand over your heart.
Well, no, I got my
Or maybe it
badges
is the right
covered
hand.
because I don't want to
You
offend
don't need
Josh.
no stinking badges. Why would you offend Josh?
Well, one says elect Trump 2020 and guns save lives.
Oh yeah, those
Those are pretty offensive.
those trigger me.
Well,
I am triggered.
Yes. Well, I was at UNH today, and I saw some eyes that were.
Oh, really?
They didn't say nothing, but they were triggered.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
around after this session. I was walking around, and people were very offended. I did two things that were probably cardinal sins at UNH. Well, first of all, I gotta say it was nice to see UNH back in action. Because
yes,
the last time we went there was like a ghost town. It was kind of creepy.
it was.
But today there was a lot of people running
It
around.
looks like in the summer anyway.
Yeah,
Not
but it
just
was
'cause
a
of
lot worse than usual because of COVID. But this time there was a lot of people running around. There were pretty girls. I didn't notice. You would have noticed.
No, I
'Cause
don't
you,
look.
you don't look anymore.
I don't look.
Yeah,
no.
me neither.
I'm blind.
I'm just assuming.
Yes.
I'm just assuming there were pretty girls. But
Yes.
anyway, I did some really horrible, evil things. I walked around the campus without my mask.
Oh.
I don't know if that's illegal or not.
Yeah.
And then I walked the wrong way on a one-way sidewalk.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's like going to Market
I
Basket
don't-
or Hannaford's and going down the wrong aisle.
Right, it was the same thing, but except I was
get
like
dirty
out.
looks from people when I do that, but I just tell them to stand on the magical social distance sticker and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That
Well,
does.
see, I'm always afraid SWAT's going to come out of the ceiling. So I go down the right
Right.
arrows.
Oh yeah. You can't be too safe.
Yeah.
You know, unless you get your bulletproof. The thing is, you can even have a bulletproof vest. If they get AR-15s, and you got to have a really good vest
Yeah.
to protect yourself from the SWAT teams.
Well, I don't know if you saw
like I thought there would be snipers up on the top of the buildings taking out people walking the wrong way on a.
at
one-
UNH.
yeah.
Yes. Well, there
I-
were snipers there.
Oh, okay.
Truly, there was.
Really?
Yeah.
State police snipers.
Yeah.
right?
We have state police snipers.
We had state police
If-
snipers.
If you look on my Facebook, 3 comments ago, the morning comment, I put a picture of the SWAT team that are snipers, and because I caught them coming out last House session, June 30th,
Yeah.
and I went, and they were all carrying their AR-15s, fully armed, bulletproof, everything.
They're there for your protection.
They
It's a
are.
gun-free zone.
Yeah, I don't understand
So
that
I don't know
either.
why Shirtliff has guns there, especially those.
Well, I don't
scary
think
ones.
Shirtliff has a lot to do with it.
Well, I think he could. He
This-
could enforce
no.
the full
The
gun.
campus is a gun-free zone.
Yep.
Why does the university president allow?
Yeah.
Yes, but I
Snipers
don't.
on his
I
campus.
don't believe. I don't believe that has a lot to do with the speaker. I think that has to do with security at the State House, working with the state police to make sure we're secure at UNH.
Yes.
I don't know, because I went. I kind of half jokingly asked the cops, because there's like all this police presence, right?
Yeah.
I says, why do you need this many cops, right? And he says, well, it's to protect. We've got a lot of expensive property here, and protect the people.
We've got an incoming call.
So I said, which one do you care the
Is
most?
it President Trump?
Yeah, it must
the
be.
caller
Go ahead,
ID?
yeah, go ahead.
Hello, you're on Rock Paper Hand Grenades with Gary and John and Josh. How you doing?
Yeah, hello, hey, it's ETG. I had a question for you. I knew you had to go back to UNH today. Will you ever be allowed to go back to Concord and do your business?
Yeah, after November 3rd.
Yeah, when we take Shirtliff,
really?
we take
Oh,
Shirtliff
yeah.
out of the speakers.
Why after November 3rd? What's the special? Oh, because of the election?
Because once the election's over, they won't need COVID-19 to control us.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. That once Biden
true.
wins the presidency, that we won't be talking about COVID-19 anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't think.
Is that really true? That's something I've heard on the street.
It should be either, right? If
It doesn't matter
if
either
Biden
way.
wins, he's going to magically save the
I think
world
you should
by
be allowed to go
eradicating.
back to Congress today. I think that's crazy.
We should.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
the thing is, if their belief that masks work, then therefore we should have been able to sit in our seats with masks on. But obviously they don't.
Who makes that rule? They had to go to UNH today. Who
It's
said you had to
that's
do that?
really the speaker's call. The Speaker of the House calls the shots for the, and he's a Democrat, and he's listening to his liberal commie friends. So, should I say that?
All right,
on the air?
I had a question. I'm glad you answered it. Have a great show.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
Thanks for calling.
It wasn't President Trump.
That wasn't.
No, it didn't
I was
sound
hoping it was President Trump, but
Yeah.
it wasn't President Trump.
Yeah. What
No,
would you
but
do
he-
if he called? That'd be cool.
Be shocked.
Oh, oh, that would be great. No, he alluded to something there that once Biden becomes president, that it'll all disappear. And what I was going to say was, it doesn't matter who wins on November 3rd; it should disappear, because if
Yes.
Biden wins, he's going to magically save the world.
Yes.
He and Kamala are going to save the world from COVID, and we won't have lockdown anymore, right? Because
Yes.
that's the whole purpose. But if Trump wins, well, when Trump wins,
Yes.
then there's a whole bunch of executive orders lined up to make all of this go away. So that's my feeling, right? This is unconstitutional. It was just ruled unconstitutional just this past week by
State court, though, right?
a federal judge in Pennsylvania saying that the lockdown, you can't stop people from going to church. You can't stop people from
Yes.
gathering. You
Well,
can't
it
you
depends-
can't limit gatherings to a specific.
That, yes, but that depends on which court, because the Nevada court, federal court or whatever, that's probably something circuit court, ruled that Nevada could control the coming and goings of religious organizations, but
Really?
Then,
Oh, yeah.
then we have ourselves a Supreme Court issue here that needs to be taken care of right now.
I think
right?
I think
I
they
know they're not in
I
session.
believe
but
they
you've got
refused to hear
two
the Nevada
federal,
case.
You got two federal judges that are in conflict with each other. I say that's a Supreme Court issue now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really see it as either one, because it's a whole bunch of BS.
Exactly, and that's why I say
Now, on the House floor, I mentioned my Supreme Court decision with the Speaker.
Oh yeah, tell us about. Okay, that is actually really cool. I have to tell you, usually I'm on board with what John Burt does, although I encourage him to try to see how much trouble he can get into and
Yes.
kind of watch from the sidelines and laugh.
oh,
Yes,
you're
you
that
do.
friend.
I'm that friend,
He
right?
is.
I am. Except the one time when I got you in trouble, but it was you volunteered for the trouble.
I begged for it.
You did.
Yes.
Yes, which was pretty dumb. So, but anyway, this time, John, basically, I think you were almost completely solo
I was.
because you said you were going to do some court case, and I says it just seemed like a vain pursuit. But you did it anyway. Tell the people what you did.
What happened is 2 years ago, January, the first Wednesday of January, the Constitution says we have to meet as new representatives. The only thing we can do, because there's no bills before us, is make rules. So this is how, and Democrat or Republican, whoever controls the House, they're going to make their rules on how we're going to proceed. The Constitution says proceedings. I told the media when I won my court case, proceedings does not dictate or allow the majority to abuse me and take my constitutional rights away. So what happened is they said John Burt cannot carry a gun on the House floor. And I said, well, yes, I can.
Right, it's a constitutional right. It
Yes.
has nothing to do with House proceedings.
Proceedings. Proceedings is setting calendar dates. I have to wear a tie. Men can't take their coats off, or unless a woman goes up and requests it, and all that other stuff. That's proceedings. Nothing to do with constitutional rights. So Dan Hines took the case on. We went to Superior Court. They threw it out. They said, oh, separation's of body. But the judge that threw it out is a left judge. He loves Shurtleff. So he's not going to find against Shurtleff, the Speaker. So that left judge says, we're going to throw it out. So I said, I want to go to the Supreme Court. Well,
Oh, so the process of throwing it out, just want to clarify.
Yes.
Process of throwing it out means that no decision was made.
No decision.
Change
Yes.
in the rules were made.
Because they said the
Yes.
separations of the courts, the House of Representatives, the governor, like all these mandates
They
from
threw
the
your
governors.
complaint away, not the rule.
That's right. So the rule stayed. I was still not allowed to carry a gun, even though on January 3rd, I think it was, or 4th of 2 years ago, I said I'm going to still carry. Almost everybody still does. And both sides kept telling me, my leadership, their leadership says, John, just shut up about it. Carry your gun. We don't care. Just shut up. But it's a gun-free zone. We're not supposed to carry. I know. We just want it on the front to say,
Well,
hey.
I don't think it's that. I think that there is it's like our friend,
Oops, sorry about that.
is that me?
No.
Am I calling you?
Let me mute that. I thought I muted it.
A friend of ours in the House who just lost a $41,000 contract. There's people out there that are very loud, vocal, and
Yes.
annoying, and so leadership just succumbs to that.
Yeah.
And in the Democratic
Yes.
caucus, there are a few people who are very loud and very adamant and very annoying, and I think Shurtleff just says, okay, just stop. It's almost like the classic squealing woman, the woman that just keeps and you just, yes,
Give her
yes,
whatever
okay,
she wants to
whatever,
shut her
just
up.
make her stop.
Make
and
Karen
so that's
go
what
away.
I think it was. You make Karen go away.
Okay.
So and so when they said just Kerry, we don't care, they really mean it. I had
Oh, they just wanted to quiet Karen.
they wanted to quiet
They
Karen,
wanted the rule in place to make everybody feel good.
to keep Karen feeling warm and fuzzy, so
Yeah,
she would
I
just
agree with
shut
that.
up.
Yeah. So what happened is then after the Superior Court says there's a separation of bodies, we're not allowed to intervene. And that's what Shurtleff kept saying. And his attorney, whatever it is.
The court can't intervene. The judicial branch cannot intervene
In
into
rules.
the
In rules.
legislative
And
Yes.
rules
branch.
being made by the House.
So then we go to the Supreme Court of New Hampshire, and they looked at it and they said after our decision or after our hearing, and Dan Hines, the attorney, was very spot on. What was nice, Cianci. So the lawyer for the state was Cianci for the state house. He got caught twice fibbing to him. Supreme Court judges do not like that. They nailed him on it, and they said, "What do you mean that this has been gun-free since the '70s?" Oh yes, no guns have been allowed in there since the '70s.
That's not true.
I could have swore one of the Supreme Court, and they interrupt you all the time. One of the Supreme Court judges go, "But I thought I read where it depends on the party." Oh, yeah. So it really wasn't from the '70s. Well, no. Well, they don't want to be lied to. And if, and I don't know if that helped me, but, I don't think it did.
I don't think it hurt.
I don't think it hurt. So then what happened is Dan gets up there and he goes, Attorney Hines, and he goes, Your Honor, where else can Representative Burt and the other plaintiffs, because there's a bunch of us on the list, where else can they go? Where? You tell us. Because if a group of Muslim women, black women, Hispanic, white women, what happens if they made a rule and said they can't vote on the House floor? That's a constitutional right.
Right.
Of course you would
You can't-
intervene.
You can't make rules that violate the
Yes.
constitutional rights. So that's kind of a
what happened.
steadfast walls you cannot breach.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that Bill of Rights, right? You can make whatever rule you want as long as you don't violate these.
Yes. So everybody was against, not everybody, the majority of almost all the House was against me. Republicans and Democrats saying, John, you're opening up Pandora's box. And I said, this needs to be set because in 20 years, I'm not going to be there, but the representatives there, whoever's in control, are going to be abused by the majority party on their constitutional rights. I don't want that.
What about laser beams by then?
Maybe
the
laser beams, yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened
That'd be
is
cool, though.
all of a sudden, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, a Friday, I got a phone call. Did you see the case? I said, what case? Your case? I said, oh, no. You try to be a little more, yeah, you just won the New Hampshire Supreme Court. And I'm like,
oh my God, are you serious? So I went and read it, and then I started talking to attorneys about it, and then attorneys from all over the country have called me because they're watching us. They're saying, oh my God, you just got a favorable New Hampshire, a Supreme Court, that they can bring back to their state. So this is going to set history if I can win this. So the judges wrote up unanimous, not just 3-2, it was unanimous. They wrote it up, and the way they said it is that this is and all we asked them to do was bring it back to the Superior Court because that's the right thing to do. They wrote it up saying this is a constitutional issue. We're not making a decision on it, but it is a constitutional issue. The Superior Court has a right to hear it. You must hear this case. Now, what the Superior Court will do, I have
If
no
it's the
idea.
same, is this back to the same one?
We're trying to get a different judge because
Well, you've got a judge that's obviously biased already.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want his ruling overruled.
Oh.
He threw it out
yes.
because he didn't want to be the guy that made a ruling and got criticized for it.
Yes.
But he also didn't want you to win.
That's right.
So he threw it out.
Well, what's great, according to I read it and I read it and I read it and I understand that I won, or the group of us won, and I look at it. I'm just listed as the top person, so I look at it and I go, all right, it all looks great, but the lawyers are telling me because they know how to read into it. They're saying, John, this is a huge gift from them. They wrote it up basically telling the Superior Court this is a constitutional issue. So we're going back to the Superior Court saying it's a constitutional issue. They can't take away from me. Well, if they can, what's the Superior Court going to say? Well, John, on this constitutional right, they can take it away. Then we're going right back to the Supreme
Exactly.
Court, and we've already...
there's no precedent that any constitutional right can be taken
That's
away
right.
unless you yourself have committed some sort of a crime,
Yeah,
a felony.
absolutely, and we're fundraising...
A felony is the only reason to take away somebody's rights.
That's right. Well, even then, I question some of them, but
Right.
but some, yes. But we're trying to raise money in case the New Hampshire Supreme Court is not favorable to us, which I think they will. And that's what everybody's telling me, John. The way this is, we go back to them, we're going to win it.
Because they don't want to be overruled again.
Well, that's it.
Well,
Right.
they also
There's
are unlikely
there's
to
an ego thing there.
overrule their own decision, which would
Yes. Well, that's it. But we're willing to go to the
because
U.S.
as soon
Supreme
as they
Court if we need
acknowledge
to.
it's a constitutional right,
Yes.
then it's pretty tough to.
Yeah.
I think the lower judge, is going to try to save face and
Somehow.
say, yeah.
Well, they
okay.
can save face because he threw it out and didn't actually create
Exactly.
a judgment. He
Yes,
didn't write anything
yeah.
up. He didn't write an opinion on either side. So that's why he can save face.
Yeah.
Right?
And I really don't know the judge. I mean, I never met him. I didn't go to court that day. And so, I mean, from what I'm hearing, that he's in, shirtless pocket and all that, I have no idea. I hope he's not. I hope that's just, somebody running their mouths. I hope the guy's like, no, we really can't. And he looked at it legitly. Right. And he's going to look at this decision legitly. That's what
Right.
I'm praying for.
Right. Right. And all I'm saying is that judges don't like to write decisions that they know will be overruled.
Yeah.
They like to write decisions that they think are going to be super solid and can't be appealed. Right? That's
Yes.
how judges like to do it. And if in this particular case, the judge already knows what's on the mindset of the next appeals court.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be very careful about what they do
Yeah.
in order to make sure that they're not overridden.
I just don't want the Speaker of the House to abuse the minority, regardless if they're
Yeah.
Republican or Democrat, of their constitutional rights. Now, the Speaker can set up all these silly rules that we have to go by. Fine. All right. But don't take my constitutional rights away.
Right.
So,
So that's good news.
Yes.
That's great.
Very good.
very good, John.
Yeah. I'm
I
excited.
had very little
so
faith in you. I still do have very little.
You are not a good friend at all.
No,
do you
Why
know-
are we
not.
still speaking to
You
each
know
I don't
other?
Paul
know.
Mirsky, Representative Mirsky,
Yeah.
former. I don't know. I mean, I do know why. A lot of people hold him up on the top
Yeah,
shelf.
he's the Grand Master.
He is.
Yeah.
Well, he wrote me this beautiful letter saying, John, at the beginning, I'm going, oh, what is John Burt doing? Poor guy. He's going to fall flat on his face and have all these eggs all over him, smashed into his head.
Yeah, because a reverse ruling would have been
Yes.
pretty treacherous.
Yeah, but then he goes, John, I take my hat off. I got a lot of respect for you, and I'm going, oh, that's coming from Paul Mirsky. I mean, because
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I feel pretty good that and again, I don't know what the courts are going to do. I'm just crossing my fingers that we can continue to protect the Constitution.
Still a long process ahead, though, right?
Years.
Yeah.
We dodged a big bullet. Speaking of guns, we dodged a big bullet today.
Yes.
A couple of them.
Yeah.
You want to tell?
Yeah.
Seen that? That was your committee.
687 is the red flag bill. That's where a disgruntled neighbor, an ex-wife, ex parte go to court and file papers through video chat.
What? Wait. You got to tell what ex parte. Most people do not know what that means.
They can represent themselves and make up stuff. They can write it on a paper saying, "This is what I believe." There's no fines for lying. Nothing.
Nothing. Well, it's still you're perjuring yourself.
But
there-
it says there's no fines to
Well,
perjury.
which one? 687.
Oh no, 1660 was that one.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
687
Yeah.
has a rule against perjury, but the problem is if you look in New Hampshire courts, when's the last time somebody was prosecuted for perjury?
Zero.
Zero.
Never happened.
Well, I think it has, but I can't say never, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Because the problem is to convict somebody of perjury, now you have to convict them of knowingly saying something they knew wasn't true,
Yeah.
which is pretty difficult to prove.
Yes.
So perjury is a difficult thing
Yeah.
to prove and is almost never prosecuted. So if I call up and say, Josh is scaring me, he's doing X, Y, and Z.
And Josh don't know nothing
It's only
about it.
prosecuted if you're an aide to President Trump and you were set up.
Yeah, okay.
That's when perjury is prosecuted.
yeah, the perjury then counts big time.
Well, so what happens is, so they get this decision. They tell the police. Yes.
No, wait.
Oh.
So there's another variable on this, is that decision of the court is only, I forget what the terminology is, but it's only 50-50. All the judge has to be convinced of
Yes.
is there's a 50-50 chance that Josh is unstable.
Yeah.
So now you have to put yourself in the position of the judge. He's
Doesn't
not
that apply to pretty much the entire population?
pretty much. So you have to put yourself in the position of the judge. He gets this complaint from Gary, but he doesn't tell Josh who I am. It's anonymous. He gets this complaint against Josh, and I say, Josh has did this, and this. He looks at that. That's the only information he has,
Yeah.
because it's like he's an ex parte. It's just a
I
single
don't
side
have
of
the
an argument.
Ability to defend myself.
You can't.
You don't even know about it.
You
at
don't
this
even
point.
know
Exactly.
about it. So he has to look at that and think, is there a 50-50 odds that maybe this is true? Secondly, if he decides not to participate or not to allow the order to go through, he's going to have blood on his hands if Josh goes ballistic. So even though it's a 50-50 shot, the odds are really in the favor of them going to take Josh's guns.
Yes.
So then what happens?
So then they will show up at 5 a.m. in the morning. The police will,
With a no-knock warrant.
sometimes with a no-knock warrant, and say, "We want your guns." And then they take your guns and walk away. Now, the Democrats say this is to stop suicide.
Yeah, suicide.
Now, what my question to the Democrats are always, okay, so you show up at this guy's house, he loves his guns, you confiscate his guns, because that's basically what you're doing, and then you just walk away and leave the knives, the pills, and the second-story window, and everything else in place. Okay, so why can't he commit suicide that way?
Did you take all the hose that he could attach to his tailpipe?
Yeah, no, they don't do nothing. All they want is the guns. So that's why it's a gun confiscation bill. So they needed two-thirds to override the governor's very smart veto. They could not get it. And so the bill died. It's dead.
It is dead.
And
It's really,
we
really
better elect Republicans next time, or
'Cause
it's
it's-
coming right back. Well, it's still going to come back.
Yeah,
It'll
if,
come back
if
one
we had
way
a
or the other.
Democrat, if we had a Democrat in the corner office, that would be law right now.
Yep, yep. we would be, and then 1660 is an elder bill, again, to protect the elderly. We already have current laws to protect them for what they're looking for. And then Al Baldessaro got up with a question with Rainey Cushion, Democrat, and said, well, you're saying it doesn't have anything to do with guns, but it has something to do with guns because you can remove the people's guns. Well, not really. Well, yeah, no, really, you can. It says it in there.
It has the word gun
But
in the bill.
Democrats keep saying that we don't mean that.
That one's-
well, it's there.
That one's sometimes a little bit more scary than the other one. I mean, any red flag bill is scary.
Yeah.
But the ones that are for the elderly, this is the one it pulls at your heartstrings.
Yep.
We want to take care of our elders. We don't, right?
That's what he said.
But if you think about it, the goal is
To take the guns.
to take the guns,
That's the
right?
only
Okay,
thing they're
we
doing.
need this person's, got dementia, Alzheimer's. We need to make them safe and take care of them because they're elderly, they're getting on in life. And in the process of taking care of them, we're going to take these guns.
Yeah.
We're not going to say, hey, do you have a son or daughter or other family member that you can send these to?
Yep. Nope.
No, we're not going to do that. We're going to take the guns, and as fast as we possibly can, we're going to make sure that they are destroyed while in evidence,
Yes.
right? So the purpose of that particular bill is to get rid of every single gun in the country.
Yep.
Because eventually, all of us gun owners are going to get old and die. And when we
No,
do,
I'm not. Why do you say
when
that?
we do, the Democrats want your possessions
Absolutely.
to go to them and not to your kin, right? So that's the one. That one scares me a little bit because of that.
I agree.
Because the purpose of that is to make sure that they never ever come back, right?
So that basically you don't even get a chance to the guns to end up in the will.
Exactly.
So that my firearms can't be passed down to my grandkids or
Exactly.
great-grand.
Well, my father-in-law, Don, he gave
Your father-in-law is my father-in-law's brother.
Yes. He
Wow.
he ended up.
I didn't know I was like this. I feel like I'm in the freaking mafia or something.
He gave most of his guns to his boys that he wanted. He says, I want you to have this one. I want you to have this. He kept a couple for himself. But he goes, I'm getting up and, he's almost, I think he's 80 now. And he goes, I better give, and he did this like 5-8 years ago. Yeah. So he did it the right way. Just gave them away. And
But see, even that would be a problem under this particular red flag law. If, and there are other states out there, New Hampshire had registries. If other states had registries, right? If the guns were registered to your father-in-law and he gave them to his sons and daughters and whatnot, then he dies, the state comes in and says, okay, we're looking for this serial number, this serial number, this serial number. Where are they? Because they're ours now. Right?
Really?
The purpose of registration and the purpose of red flag laws in any form whatsoever is to slowly eradicate them from our possession completely.
Yes.
And take away the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So
that is the purpose always.
yeah, so it's the other variable, at least on 687, that they spent very little time talking about is they come and take my 1022. Okay, my 1022 when I bought it, I think it was like $200, right?
Yep.
So my neighbor calls. They're really angry. They're really mad at me. So they make up this BS thing about how dangerous I am, and so they come and take my 1022.
Just for putting a Trump sign on their lawn.
Pretty much. So, that was the other thing. But I'll get back to that. So it goes to my town. I don't know what my town would do. They're pretty good people, but let's say they charge me $5 a day for storage,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I didn't know they could do that.
Oh, sure they can. Why we think they're going to
Really?
store
There's no
those for
end
free?
To the consequences.
So then they're going to end up with the guns anyways.
They're going to end up with the guns anyway because it only takes in 40 days. It'd be cheaper for me to buy a new one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the other variable. So you're looking at spending thousands of dollars for a lawyer because you'd be stupid not to hire a lawyer once it starts.
Yeah.
So you've got to figure out and hire Dan Hines or somebody to defend you, and then you have to then you have to go to a. It might end up with a you in front of because under 687 you can be evaluated, right? So you're evaluated by a doctor. Now everybody knows that one of the biggest problems with doctors is liability, right? I mean, I got my foot was in a brace 2 months ago, and when I asked the doctor, I said, "Can I drive with a brace on?" He says, "No, you can't."
Huh?
And I realized that was a stupid question. He has to say, "No, you can't," in case something happens while I'm driving. If he said, "Yeah, go ahead,"
Yeah.
and I get stuck on the brake pedal, trying to negotiate, and I get in an accident, he'd be liable.
Yep.
So his answer is, "No, you can't." So for liability reasons, if I go to a doctor and say, "I'm doing good, there's nothing wrong, it's just my crazy neighbor," even if he thinks I'm sane, he's going to err on the side of caution and never give me my right to have my guns back.
Yes.
Why would he?
Yeah.
He's talking about major liable suit if something ever happens.
Not only that is a situation that you described perfectly, is pervasive amongst any mental health provider, right? They're always erring on the side of caution, right?
Yes.
Right.
And one thing about being a mental health provider is that you are tasked with finding out what's inside somebody else's head.
Right, which
Right.
is pretty tough.
And there are literally hundreds of different mental illnesses, depressions, all kinds of different things that you can be diagnosed with. But if anyone has ever had the experience of dealing with mental health professionals, the one thing they don't ever want to do is they don't ever want to give you a definitive diagnosis.
On anything.
Well, you've got tendencies here, and you've got tendencies here, and you've got tendencies here, so, we'll treat the symptoms. How many times have we heard that? We're going to treat the symptoms.
Yeah.
Doctors do not want to diagnose you one way or the other. They don't want to be definitive in their paperwork because they don't want to be liable.
Yeah.
And it's the same situation.
Right.
If a doctor is asked, is this man stable? Will this man pick up a gun and go shoot somebody
Or
if he
himself.
has a chance?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be responsible for making that decision,
Yeah.
much less a doctor
Yeah.
with his medical license on the line.
You can't afford the
So-
liability. I bet the insurance companies would stop covering him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and
That makes sense.
the other because the thing is, somebody on Facebook, Jan down in Nashua, I don't know how I ended up on it. Some Nashua Facebook site. Jan, what's the Democrat down there? You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I can't.
Anyway, so
Spence or something.
and anyway, I gave my list of reasons why I'm not going to support the 687. I'm going to support the governor, and she said, "Well, if this won't work, what would you do?" I'm not doing anything. She goes, "What bill were you interested?" I says, "Nothing." I said, "The proper way to deal with this is if somebody is truly unstable."
Charge them with something.
No. If they're truly unstable, you take them out of the environment they're in and sit and talk to them and find out what's going on. Are they that depressed? Is life got them that bad? Because if you look at the situation they use as examples, like that shooter down in Connecticut years ago, if they had taken that kid out of that house because they were worried he might shoot somebody, they would have known really quickly, man, this kid needs help. We got to get this kid help now, right?
Yep.
Whereas on the other instance, where it's just some whacked out neighbor, you're going to find out pretty quick that he's probably pretty pissed that you just took him out of work a couple of days.
Yeah.
But that's pretty normal,
Yeah.
But
Well, that's the other thing.
and then you prosecute.
Go ahead.
Then you have to follow that up with prosecuting anybody who falsely accuses, which is tough.
And
Yes.
that's left out of the bill, right?
Yes.
If someone makes a false accusation.
No, that isn't left out. It is on the
Well, in
it's
1660, it's protected if you.
Yeah, 687. You can do it anonymously, but there is, but you're making a statement under penalty of law.
Yeah.
But
But in 1660, the elder bill, they actually removed that part out of the bill, saying that you can't be prosecuted for a false, you know.
It's great
report.
that we were able to sustain the vetoes.
Yes.
It's great that we have a governor who will do that if you know, even though we don't have a legislature who will do that. But it's disconcerting that this is going to be something we are never going to end.
no, they're going to
we're
keep
never gonna
attacking.
stop.
Well, and they're not even hiding it now. My opponent in Ware,
They're
he
going
lives
to
in Ware.
continue to find a different route.
I mean, he's nothing but, you know, I represent Goffstown, Ware, and Deeren, District 39 in Hillsborough. And my opponent is going door to door saying, I want common sense gun control. He doesn't even hide.
He wants common sense gun control, or
Yes.
you?
He does.
Oh.
And I mean, he doesn't even hide that he is anti-gun. And Gary put some on, I can't remember what page it was on, but he said, hey, you know, 687's coming up. How are you going to vote? And I said, well, I believe in the Constitution, so I'm going to vote.
Yeah,
no,
you weren't
know.
supposed to do that, by the way.
Oh, I wasn't?
No, you're supposed to hold off and wait until the Democrats hung themselves.
Well, then the Democrats come in.
But they
and-
did it anyway.
Well, that's it. And Gary, you know, my opponent, I don't say his name, you know, my opponent goes,
The bad Gary.
yes, the bad Gary. He goes, I'll vote for it in a heartbeat. And I'm like, you're saying it right in public.
Right.
And I mean, they don't even hide that they want our guns.
There is so many things that the liberals have decided to stop hiding in the last
Communism.
8 years.
Yeah, communism.
Marxism.
Yeah. Well,
pedophilia.
yes.
Pedophilia is a big one.
We haven't discussed that one on this
Yeah.
show, and
I haven't really looked into what they
But-
actually passed in California.
I mean,
haven't looked at
if
the
we
bill.
get censored, we can say socialism. That's the softer word of communism because it's the same thing.
yeah.
You know, some people say it's not, and I go, no, it really is. So socialism is where the government will come to my door and say, pay taxes, or we're going to put you in jail. Communism is they just send a guy with a gun, pay taxes, or we'll shoot you in the head. And I'm going, well, it's both the same. You know, so I'm, you know, it's the same in my eyes.
So this is the exact quote from your opponent.
Okay.
I would absolutely vote for it to become law. It is a red flag law designed to allow friends and family to prevent a suicide. And that's not it.
No.
If it Gary, if it were
The bad
meant
Gary.
to prevent suicide, then the question still stands, as John Burt said earlier. Are you taking all the pills out of the house? Is that in this law? No. Are you taking all the knives out of the house? The machetes, all of the gardening tools? What are you preventing suicide if you're not taking all of that other stuff out? The gun is the evil instrument that you're after. And you
It's
know,
also
even
it's
September
also-
11th showed us that you don't need a gun to kill thousands of people.
Yeah. And what did the Democrat in Goffstown say?
Oh, let me
She
see.
jumped right in.
Yeah, she did too. Let me
What
see.
was her? Marlene or Marilyn?
Marlene Renfrew Hebert.
Yeah.
I am running, and I'll let you read this one.
I am running for District 6. I believe House Bill 687 involving extreme risk, a red flag law, is well written with clearly defined parameters, with the intent,
Perimeters.
perimeters. I'm sorry, with the intent to prevent a suicide or harm to the general public, based on a credible threat, as determined by the court. I would vote for it. Oh, then she just goes on who she is. Oh, and then there's another one. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that started jumping in on it.
Yeah.
You know, but the Democrats, every one of them said, you know, we want your guns.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
all it is.
It is.
They can call it a suicide bill all they want, but like you said, unless they start taking away every other instrument of death out of that house, it is a gun
It is.
confiscation
Now,
law.
I sit on
only.
criminal justice, and I hear bills all the time, those bills, and people come in and say, okay, these are the countries that went gun free. Their suicide rate's the same. So now they're just using knives. And now in England, they're trying to ban knives because so many people, that's what they're using because the guns are banned.
Right.
So now they're just, hacking you up with knives and,
And they're demonstrating that a knife can be used to kill multiple people, 7, 8 people in a single
Oh.
instance.
Well, what did that Chinese guy do in
Oh,
China?
that was quite a few years ago, but yeah, he wiped out a bunch of people.
33, 34 kids?
I don't think he killed 33. I think he stabbed 33.
Oh,
I don't know how
okay.
many actually died.
Oh.
But he went on a rampage, just freaking hacking away. But
The point is, you can cause mass destruction, and you don't need a gun to do
well,
it.
yeah. Well, the other thing too is they do not. The new. It is important for the viewers to know that the news media is constantly lying to you. Okay, so remember Colorado, what was that big first
Columbine.
Columbine. Do you know what else they used?
That wasn't even the big first one. That was the biggest one up to that point.
No,
Yes.
it
I
wasn't.
remember
No,
it
wasn't.
specifically. No, there was an elementary school prior to that.
In the
where
30s or something.
no, like within a year or two before that. Because anyway,
But anyway, my point was that even in Columbine, they used because I'm not even going to say it on the air, but if I just wanted to kill a whole bunch of children, there are much more efficient ways to do it. And when Columbine, they did make explosives. I'm not sure how well they went off, but they actually tried to blow the school up.
Really?
The worst, as far as I know, the worst actual massacre in a school was, I think, in the 20s or 30s, 1920s or 30s. A janitor was being mistreated by the school as far as pay or something, and he blew up the school.
Huh?
And then when they saw him in his car and they went to get him, and he blew the car up that he was in.
Wow.
Okay, I forget how many people died in that one. So the premise that guns are quote unquote evil and weapons of destruction is a lie. They're deliberately leaving out the times when people use explosives and other means by which to take people out.
Yes.
They have been doing this. I think that's when I first started becoming a true Republican, was in the 90s. Because I would watch the stories time after time completely misrepresent the truth. The classic misrepresentation was Channel 9. There was a kid that was shooting in back of his house in Concord, I think, right? And he's plinking, basically, and the cop came around the corner into his line of fire.
Oh.
And he didn't get shot or anything, but he got in trouble and whatever. I think they probably have an ordinance against shooting inside city limits or something. So what happened from there was the MUR or the police, whoever, took a picture of the firearm, and MUR went around to the neighbors and said, "Do you believe one of your neighbors owns a gun like this?"
Really?
Well, I know what that gun is.
Yeah.
Okay? And one of the probably most best-selling firearms in the United States is a 10-22. Yeah. It's a 22 caliber rifle made by Ruger. Okay? And I knew that black rat rifle with all those fancy things was a 10-22 somebody bought for probably back then $160. And then they went to online and bought a whole bunch of plastic attachments.
Yes.
So if somebody buys a 10-22, one of the cool things about it is you can buy all kinds of weird stuff for it, so that it looks like an AR-15. It's still a 10-22.
Yep.
It just looks scary.
Yeah.
So MUR is going around until they found somebody in the neighborhood who goes, "Oh, I can't believe somebody would own one of those." They probably had to interview 100 people to get one person And they do this all the time. I'll give you another example. Remember in the 90s when they shut down the government shut down, right? When the Republicans do it, it's a horrible, heinous thing. When the Democrats do it, it's pretty good.
For our own good.
It's for our own good. When they shut down the entire world for COVID, that's perfectly good. But shut down the federal government for 5 minutes and you've committed some sort of heinous sin.
Yes.
And so I was talking to a guy. He says, "Oh yeah, they were National Propaganda Radio was going around the Statue of Liberty. I mean, not the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. And they're walking around, and they went up to him and says, 'How do you feel about not having federal people here to explain to you what's going on?' He says, 'I can read.'" Right? I don't care. I can read.
Did they air that?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, they kept going until they found some. Oh, I can't stand it. You know, they just, it's so profoundly dishonest. The media is so dishonest. And if you don't believe that, just look in the last few days, okay? When His Majesty Obama made that horrible trade deal or peace treaty, quote unquote, with Iran, the media was like fawning all over. Oh, finally there's peace in the Middle East.
Of course I'll sign this if you'll give me $1 billion cash.
They sent
I'll find whatever you want.
They sent pallets of money to Iran
in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
Hoping nobody would see the plane take off.
Can you imagine Trump coming up with $1 billion in cash? What would happen?
Yep.
You talk about them blowing their minds. So Obama makes this horrible peace treaty that doesn't really hold them accountable. There's no way of actually getting observers in to find out if they're actually purifying uranium. None of that, right? But he wanted a peace treaty come hell or high water so he could say he's got a peace treaty, right? Check.
Resume.
I got a peace treaty.
I got that check mark on my
I got that
resume.
peace treaty. So that's what he does. And the media, if you go back and listen to the media during that time, was, oh, he's just so great, it's wonderful. Trump has 2 actual peace treaties in the last few weeks.
Well,
no money. He didn't.
See, that's why Pelosi said, well, and Chuck Schumer, we want to read it and we really want to understand it. It's because they are hoping and praying that they can find a pallet of cash somewhere in the peace treaty. They're hoping to find that because their side can't do it without it.
Well, well, not only that, they're actually saying, well, we're sure there's some quid pro quo and all this other. They're trashing the one. I know a lot of Democrats, right, and a lot of them will tell you that they voted for Barack Obama because he promised peace in the Middle East. He promised to have a peace, non-constant war administration.
Yep.
He sat there and picked out targets for drones. He created.
And how many children died?
That's not something that
thousands and thousands of children died.
But you don't see that on CNN or
he was instrumental in destabilizing Syria. He was instrumental in destabilizing Egypt and the overthrow by the Muslim Brotherhood, which he supported.
Yes.
And consciously allowing ISIS to grow and exist.
Paid them.
Because there was a point at which he said, oh, between Al-Qaeda and ISIS is the JV team. That was one of his quotes.
Yeah.
It was we don't have to worry about them.
Well, it's like Pelosi saying that what's the big gang down in
MS-13.
Yeah, they're nice guys.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you just look at the media right now, when Obama was in, they did that horrible deal with Iran. They were just fawning all over him. They love him. This is the greatest. Trump does actual peace treaties. And it is equivalent to the peace treaty of Jimmy Carter with Egypt and Bill Clinton with Jordan, right? It is probably in some ways better because he got 2 in a row.
Two.
And he's
United
got
Arab
actually some
Emirates
more in
and
the.
Bahrain. And I read the story today. There's like 4 more nations ready to sign on to the
Yeah.
same agreement.
So
Now,
you-
will he get a Nobel Prize for it?
He's been nominated twice.
He's been nominated twice. But I'm
Imagine
sure,
that, being nominated for a Nobel Prize for actually doing something.
as opposed to Obama, was nominated for not because he might do something nice,
Yes. And wins.
and he got one. Yeah.
So how,
Because he talked about peace.
how do I get one?
I don't know. You should probably. I don't know. You got that gun thing on your lapel, so I
Yeah,
don't-
that's true.
yeah. So much for that theory. But,
All right, I'll move on to
but
something.
anyway, it's just so aggravating because the media is constantly lying. I don't think they've. I hope people see it. I hope people realize that every time they listen to MSDNC and the Communist News Network, that they're just being lied to. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I used this example before on the show, right? When you remember when Michelle Obama became First Lady,
Yes.
they loved her. She's
yeah.
so beautiful. She's so smart, etc. And I don't care. To me, the First Lady and the First Family should just basically be off limits,
Absolutely.
unless they do something stupid policy-wise. And I thought it was reprehensible when they used to attack Bush one's wife and
Yeah.
call, why is he hanging out with his grandmother again?
Yeah,
And-
or the girls.
yeah, or the girls. I thought that was reprehensible. So I didn't care that they were fawning all over Michelle Obama and saying how beautiful it was. But if
They
you
seem
wanna know
stay
the-
away from the Obama girls smoking marijuana.
Yeah,
They didn't
I
wanna
also
report
don't care
either.
about that either. But my point is, that's how they treated Michelle as soon as she took office. Or
Yes.
they took office. They trashed Melania
Yeah.
as soon as Trump took office. The woman speaks 5 languages,
Yeah.
and they're telling her how stupid she is, and it's
She's arguably more educated than any other first lady, and arguably
It's not
Easily.
arguably. That isn't
Easily.
even close to arguably.
the most easy on the eyes.
Yes,
first
as
lady
John
Yes.
Wilkes Burt
that
would
we've
say.
ever had.
Yes. Yeah.
She's easily the most beautiful first lady ever.
But the
And
media will not touch
They
that.
won't touch it. His daughter's company was trashed once
Yeah.
he took office with her, and she's a brilliant woman.
Yeah.
Have you listened to her? I was at
Oh.
a thing down in Derry when she came up to talk
Yeah.
about.
It's incredible.
She's
But
wicked smart.
and being a woman, wouldn't they want to support that?
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh,
a
here's
strong first lady? No.
no. So, well, actually, we were thinking of her for president. So, but anyway, so one way I judge
You can imagine the liberal explosions after
her,
with another Trump term.
her and Candace Owen as a team. Oh, that would be so beautiful. But anyway, so I lost it.
Well, you know the one I really loved is, but I haven't seen her in a while. Is remember Condoleezza Rice?
Yes.
She read War and Peace twice in Russian. So I asked my friend Hal Miller. He was CEO of Houghton Mifflin. He's gone now, but he goes. I said, Hal, she read it twice in Russian. He goes, John, I read 3/4 of it in English, and oh my God, it's the hardest book to read. But very interesting, but very hard to read and understand it. You gotta really look right into it. And here she reads it twice in Russian. I mean, she was the smartest woman I've ever met.
Yeah.
Not met, but seen. I'd love to see her run for president.
Condoleezza Rice. I think she's wicked liberal.
No,
No, she's.
I think
I thought
so.
she
She's
was-
a little more middle of the road. She's conservative.
I don't think
but-
so.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Because she worked under Bush, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people worked under Bush. She turned
Oh,
out
that's
to be
true. Yeah, Bush
her
is kind of
freaking
right.
horror
Her
shows.
foreign policy is very conservative.
Oh yeah, she's really really smart lady, but I don't know about president.
Yeah.
It's like Colin Powell. I think he's a really smart guy, a really cool guy. Actually, he was the impetus for that bill I introduced a whole bunch of times. Actually, it was Mike Harrington did it first. Then he didn't run for office again, so I did it after that for 8 years, which was to eliminate affirmative action in New Hampshire,
Oh,
which passed in 2011,
wow.
right? and he was my impetus because I was at this place and Colin Powell's up on the TV, and the guy's freaking brilliant, right? And somebody says, "Well, he wouldn't be there if it weren't for affirmative action." I go, "Are you kidding me? You're summing up this guy's brilliant career
Yeah.
by
Right.
some advantage he might
Right.
have had at the very beginning of that."
Yeah.
And I realized that affirmative action, as long as we have affirmative action in place,
There will always be that
there
stigma.
will always be,
Yeah.
no matter what a person of color achieves, it will always be demeaned.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we have white privilege, so
Yeah, no,
that's the only reason we're here.
I have
Yeah.
Irish privilege, actually.
Irish privilege.
Yeah, it's something
Irish
new
don't
I'm
get
working
privileges.
I have Anglo-Saxon.
You're a Saxon?
Anglo-Saxon.
Why can't you just be a Saxon?
I don't know. I was right. If at the doctor's office, race, I go Anglo-Saxon.
You know what's weird when
American.
you buy a gun? I know that you've probably never done that, but it asks you, are you white,
Yes.
Hispanic?
Yeah.
How come they can ask that?
I don't know. Oh, and for
I
the
don't think you have
record,
to answer it.
I don't know if you knew. Last summer, I had a boat accident, and all my guns were on the boat.
Yeah, that was pretty tragic.
I was with you that day.
Yes, I lost it.
with my gun.
Yeah, I
collection.
lost everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why are you guys out in boats with all your guns? Aren't you kind of a little bit on the...
Oh, we're out
Loosen
shooting
the-
fish and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
On that note-
listen, before we go, go to WilsonHillPistol.
You said that badly.
The WilsonHillPistolClub.org and check out our training schedule. We got a lot of advanced level training classes in the next couple of weeks.
Please
Where's
get
that
training.
again? The whistle is?
Wilson Hill Pistol Club. And we are at 1732 Lakeshore Road this Saturday at 4 o'clock, our annual barbecue. Join us.
Saturday, 4 o'clock. I'll be there. I love barbecue. They have really nice barbecue. Hey, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.